Okay, we are live, I believe. So welcome everybody. I'm sorry if we're a few minutes late. We had technical issues. I'm not sure if it was my end or Pete's end, but we sorted it out. So yeah, welcome to everybody who's already in the chat. Lots of people popping in to say hello in the side chat. You should have guessed by the title, I am lucky to have Pete on with me. Pete, who goes by the name Craigslist Hunter, who I'm sure many of you watch already. For those who don't know who you are, Pete, do you want to do a quick introduction that might kind of sum up who you are and what you do? How's that?
Sure. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on the show, Nick. I appreciate it. I think this is the first time I'm doing a show with somebody overseas, so it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Who I am? I'm just a Joe out here who's trying to make a couple dollars. That's all it is, man. Just just some hustle out here, buying, selling, whatever I can do to make a buck. I mean, probably some of you watch my show. I go by Craigslist Hunter, my YouTube show. Most of the stuff that you see on my show happens in my shop. I run a brick and mortar store. We buy, sell all kinds of crap. That's who I am.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. So for those who haven't watched you before, you just touched on it there. You said you have a bricks and mortar store, but you also run a fairly big eBay business alongside that. Are there other platforms? I mean, can you describe for us all the avenues that you sell your stuff on?
Sure. I mean, we do sell quite a bit locally. Like you said, I do have a brick and mortar store. So a lot of stuff is being sold in my shop and on local platforms like OfferUp, LetGo, Craigslist. That's why my name comes in, Craigslist Hunter, because that's what we used to do a ton of business on. Not really anymore. Craigslist itself, it's a tough market right now, and I don't think they're gonna survive much longer. All these local apps that came out within the last couple of years, I think they're totally kicking their ass. So
yeah, I've heard about OfferUp that you just mentioned. Then has that really taken off over there?
especially in my area, I think in the bigger metropolitan areas, it's pretty popular. Mainly for local game, but it works extremely well. Especially for me, it drives ton of traffic to the shop itself, and we do sell on it every single day. I mean, somebody comes in to pick up something from my shop from OfferUp, so it's a good platform. It used to be like that with Craigslist, but now if I get maybe couple sales a week out of Craigslist, that's about it. So now again, yeah, like you mentioned, the eBay part. Probably about 50–60% of my business, selling stuff, going out. Been on eBay forever, long as I can remember. So a little bit in Amazon. I actually dropped off quite a bit. Probably about 2 years ago, I was doing about 25–30% of my business on Amazon, and now I don't know if it's even 5.
Is that because you're selling different stuff, or you just moved away from the platform for other reasons?
I guess the argument would be that I do sell one-of-a-kind items. A lot of them are used. But the newer stuff that I was sending, it became kind of difficult because of different restrictions and stuff, and it was just too much hassle. If I get a big bundle of stuff, that I can get quantities of one item, yes, I'll send that in for FBA, but that's about it. So like I said, I don't even know if I have 5% of my business now, maybe 2%.
Oh, right. So it's constantly evolving, is what you're saying. Basically, you go where the money is.
You have to. I mean, that's the part of the game. I mean, if eBay works better for me, I'm gonna stick with eBay. If Amazon is gonna start working again, I'm gonna, so it's just constantly looking for the best avenue for my product. So
of course, I mean, any business is there to make money. Bottom line, that's it. So yeah, you follow where the profit is. So going back to, you said you've been on eBay forever. That leads into my next question of, when did you get into this game of reselling, and what kicked it off for you? What was the reason for starting and reselling? Did you come from a job and move into this?
really no jobs. I maybe hold a couple jobs in my life for a few months. That's about it. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 30 years. Always different businesses. A lot of different businesses that I don't even want to talk about anymore, because there were more businesses that I failed in than I succeeded.
I have that in common with you. I have that in common.
You know, I'm surprised actually my wife has been with me for 25 years because the crazy shit I do, you know. So, but hey,
I hear you. I know what you're saying.
You know, it works. Really, reselling started for me about 20 years ago, when all the platforms started showing up on internet. Mainly at the beginning, it was a local game for me for quite a few years. I really didn't get hard on eBay till about early 2000s, maybe 2002, 2003. Off and on too, and then I think I hit it hard about, I want to say 2006, 2007.
Right.
That's when eBay became like really big part of my business, mainly because that's about the same time that we opened our first shop. So the product that was coming in, some of it I just couldn't unload it locally. So we turned to eBay because of the big, you know, exposure that you get on eBay.
Absolutely. Worldwide audience, isn't it?
Yep. Yep. How did I get into this business overall? You know, I've been wheeling and dealing all my life. So, and it just, you know, my grandfather was in it, my dad was in it. So it's kind of in my blood. I mean, I grew up with it, you know. Back in the day, for some of you that don't know, I'm originally from Poland. I came to US when I was 13 years old. But I remember those days back in Poland in 70s and 80s when it was a still communist country and all we had is a black market, you know, and stuff that you can buy and sell out there was crazy. And I was out there on a flea market with my, you know, grandfather wheeling and dealing, and it was.
Oh, that's interesting. So you learned from your grandfather and your father, then you got it in your blood from them.
Yeah, maybe not so much as my dad. My dad was actually electric engineer, but he did dabble quite a bit in reselling different things. But my mom's brother, my uncle, and my grandfather were huge into flipping stuff, you know. So yeah, and ever since I was like, I'm gonna be making money doing this stuff.
Yeah, and once you start, it's hard to let go, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
You touched on your background in Poland. That was one of my next questions. What inspired the move, or did your whole family move over to the States? How did that work out?
I really didn't have a choice. My parents did get divorced when I was about 11 years old. My mom has been to the States a couple times before she brought me out here. That was her decision to move to the States. You know, when you are 13, you got not much to say, right? I'm going to America. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a positive thing? Were you excited by that, or was it quite daunting at that age?
No, for sure. It was positive. I was super excited. Totally different world for sure. But super excited. Yeah, I loved it from the moment I got here.
Fantastic. And where are you based, actually, for those that don't know? Whereabouts in the States are you?
So I am about 45 minutes northwest of Chicago. So I'm in suburbs of, actually a little bit closer now because I moved, about half an hour from Chicago, which I love the city. I hate the weather, but I love the city.
Yeah, it's quite north, isn't it? So it's quite cold, I would guess, by now.
Yeah, like right now, today, I was actually, before we started the show, I was splitting some wood, and it's like 42 degrees Fahrenheit. So for those of you all of you Brits, that's about what, 5 Celsius?
Right.
Yeah.
Cold enough.
Pretty chilly, yeah.
So another thing you've already touched on, the link will be below to Pete's YouTube for those of you watching who don't follow. And like I say, I'm not sure that'll be too many. I think most of my subscribers follow you naturally anyway. how long have you been doing YouTube, and what was the inspiration behind sharing what you do on YouTube?
You know, it's actually funny because just in couple days from now, I think it's gonna be, yeah, next month, 2nd or 3rd, so about a week from now, it's gonna be 3 years since I posted my first video on YouTube.
Okay.
And I watch quite a bit of YouTube. I always wanted to do something on YouTube. Matter of fact, I did it before for my company that I ran for about 10 years, which was called Junk Platoon USA. We were hauling junk away from people's homes and stuff. And I did had channel with that, and it did quite a bit of business for me, that YouTube channel for that business. So I was like, you know, we were running the shop already, and I was like, there's nobody really out there showing, you know, like a real life of a shop, what's happening. I don't want to be a place like, you know, the show Pawn Stars, that every kind of thing is scripted there, and you know, it's, so I'm like, let me do that, let me try that, it will be something different, and took off. But funny story, the first really person that I watched in reselling, it was, I think he's your buddy, Tom the English picker.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if he's watching. I was talking to him earlier. He's just coming back on the plane from holiday, but he will be watching this later. So hi, Tom.
So he was actually the first person I watched, and I tell you why, because I was really learning and into coins and silver and jewelry, and at his early days he had a ton of videos, you know, 5 years ago or 6 years ago or whatever it was, about coins and silver and collecting, and I was really into it. So he was really like the first guy I was watching about reselling and flipping stuff. So
well, that's fascinating, because I started finding the guys in America, the likes of Bonafide Hustler, Steve Rakin, and then yourself, and that's what got me into it. And there was only really Tom, as you said, in the UK talking about buying and selling, and he was, well, that's his passion, is the gold and silver and coins, but he kind of branched out into all the stuff that I do, and that's how we got to know each other. But it was interesting because there wasn't really a YouTube scene in the UK, so I was following all of you guys in America. And then when I started making videos and got to know Tom, and then it kind of, it's blown up over here now. There's loads of channels, but your channel, to touch back on your channel, it's really taken off. You're at what, 60-odd thousand subs or something crazy now?
Yeah, it's over 60,000 subscribers. It really took off within like last year or so. And it's been, first of all, it's been inspiration to me that I can be a part of community, that I can help some people. Anytime I got a message, you know, get some messages from people that, hey, you helped me with this, or you did this for me, now I'm doing stuff like this because I watch your video. That's all I can ask, you know. And the community is just unreal. You know, you're always gonna get few people out there that, you know, gonna mess with you, and some haters, but that's part of the game. You know, who cares about that? So yeah, I just enjoy it. I enjoy filming, I enjoy editing. I got better at it too. At the beginning it took me forever to put a decent video together, because remember, I shoot a lot of footage in my shop. So then I got to decide, you know, if I got 3-4 hours of footage, I'm really picking out 12, 15 minutes, 17 minutes out of those 3 hours of decent stuff and try to put it together. So it used to take me very long time. Now I get a little bit better at it, because I know if I shoot something, I'm like, this was good, I can keep that.
Yeah.
If it's something crappy, I'll delete right away. Then I don't have like 3-4 hours of footage to go through, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right. Over time, you learn to discard more than you keep, and it becomes easy to throw away those clips that you don't need. Definitely. I was going to ask, because recently you've tried daily vlogging. How's that going? And do the guys that you work with in the shop, do they mind being on camera? And the public as well, do you tell them that you're filming? When the shows I really love are where you see you dealing over the counter, where you're buying direct from the public. That fascinates me, and it takes me back to when I had a similar shop, a gaming shop like that. But do the public mind, and do your staff mind that you film them?
Well, it's pretty obvious, right? The cameras are sitting either on a counter or it's hanging on a tripod. I got usually have two cameras going. I got my Canon 70D, and then I also have my GoPro going as well for different angle footage and stuff. Do they mind? It's posted throughout my shop everywhere that you being filmed soon as you walk into the shop. So if you're not comfortable with being filmed, just let us know and we're not gonna film. Now, I try, sometimes people will ask, are you filming me right now? And sometimes I just want to say no, because as soon as you tell them that you're filming, they're acting.
It changes.
It changes, you know? So a lot of times we will be kind of discreet about it. It's filmed. When it's done, then I'll tell them, you know, this whole transaction has been filmed. Are you okay, you know, with that? And then they go, oh, really? You know, so it's been several instances that I did had a problem that people told me, no, absolutely not. I don't want this to go public or anything like that. And I respect that, no problem. And I had couple times happen that they said okay, and then 3 days later they seen the video, they came back to the shop and they go, take it down. Take it down. I don't like myself. I don't like my, take it down. You know, and
oh, that's frustrating. If you've gone to all the effort of uploading, editing, and then you take it down.
But you know, I do respect. It only happened a couple times. I mean, I got a couple hundred videos. You know, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I get it. Sometimes people think it's cool, but then they see it themselves on a video, and maybe something was said wrong or something. You know, who knows?
And maybe they weren't supposed to be selling that item, or they didn't want someone to know what they were selling.
Possibly.
Who knows? Going back to Tom, actually, who we mentioned, when I spoke to him earlier, he had a question to ask you, which was, is there anything you won't buy? Which kind of leads me on to a more general question of, what is it you buy and sell? Are there any limits on that?
I'll tell you this. I will try to stay away from things, especially if I'm planning to resell online, things that can't bring more than $25, $30.
Mm-hmm.
But I will still buy them if they're attractive to resell them locally or resell them in my shop. I will buy in big quantities if something is cheap, even if it sells online for $9.99 on eBay. But if I got 300 of the same item, yeah, no problem. One posting, boom, and it just goes and goes and goes, right?
Yeah.
But far as like deciding what I buy and I mean, we buy pretty much anything. Pretty much anything. I am a little bit careful with like World War II stuff, like Nazi stuff, you know, because it's always a touchy subject. And I know it's history and I get it, but a lot of people don't. So, you know, kind of pick and choose in that area. Definitely when it comes to like weapons and stuff, I will buy, you know, old bayonets or things like that. But, you know, stuff that has the swastika issue on it, you know, depends what it is.
Yeah, well, you can't actually list them on eBay, or do you have to cover the swastika up? I can't remember. I got in trouble a long time ago for selling a badge with a swastika on it.
Right, exactly right. But I do have
what restriction is now.
Yeah, but I do have pretty good market for that locally. I mean, there's a lot of collectors locally, so
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, really, we'll buy pretty much anything. If I can make a buck on it, I'm buying it.
Right. But there must be areas that you have a personal interest in. What makes your eyes light up when it comes in over the counter? What niches fascinate you particularly?
This stuff that it's sitting right behind me. I don't know if you guys can see it. Vintage electronics.
Okay, right.
So yeah, that's kind of my gig. I love it. I know a lot about it. I get super excited if something comes in like that, you know, especially the vintage receivers, speakers from 60s, 70s. I'm all over that stuff, and it's great money in it too. And a lot of people don't want to sell it because it's big, bulky, heavy. People don't know how to test that equipment. So there's a good advantage of dealing with that kind of stuff. So
yeah. I'm kind of neglecting the chat because I'm just so into the conversation, but there's lots and lots of questions and stuff coming in. I've also got questions on Facebook, which we might touch on at some point as well. But talking about the electronics, oh, I've just lost the question. Storm1 UK said, ask him about the reel-to-reel. I think it's just behind you. How would you test that item, as they're quite knowledge specific?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to learn about it. YouTube is perfect for it. You know, you can pretty much learn anything on YouTube. The particular two models that I have sitting here, there's actually a Reeboks and a AKA. Both of these have sentimental value to me. That's why they're here. The Reeboks one on top is my father used to own exact model, so that's why I have it here. And the AKA one, that was a first one that I actually picked it up, but I really never used it. I picked it up somewhere 20 years ago on a flea market, and it's been with me ever since here. So, but they're not hard to test. Like I said, you know, as long as you have an amplifier, go on YouTube, watch few videos, and I'm not saying you're gonna be an expert, but you're gonna have enough knowledge that you will know what to do to test that kind of equipment.
Yeah. So are these part of your personal collection here? Are you at home now, or are you at the shop?
I'm actually at home. Like, remember I told you I was gonna be in my shop, but a few days ago we had a conversation that we might switch the show to Wednesday because I was gonna go fishing for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And that trip actually did not go through because of the weather. We got really cold, so I canceled the trip. But I still took the time off. I'm working around the house and doing things. So we are at my in my basement. Yeah, this is kind of my man cave.
Wow, that looks awesome. I know my good friends are here would love that. I don't know if you watch the Here's videos. He loves his vintage hi-fi as well. So he would love it.
And like, I don't know if you guys can see it, probably not too good, but that back wall, this is from a Stereo Review magazine's stuff that I'm looking for. And stuff that I find, I mark the date on every one of them, when I found it, what I bought it, and what I sell it for. I only found about 20% of the stuff that it's on that wall, and the other 80% I'm still hunting for.
Oh wow, so that's like your most wanted list.
Kinda.
Wow, that's cool. Another thing I wanted to touch on before perhaps we go into the Facebook questions was some of your most popular videos I've seen in views are the dumpster diving. I wanted to touch a bit on that because they are fascinating to watch. It's not something I've ever got involved with. The law in the UK, it's a big grey area, and I'm not really sure where I stand on that. So could you touch on what dumpster diving is and where you stand with the law in the US doing that?
Isn't that crazy that these are the most popular videos that I have? You know,
Yeah.
I think I have like 3 of them, and 2 of them are like a million views on them, which is like crazy. Why would somebody watch that? You
But
know,
there's whole channels devoted to that now that are huge.
I know, but I think it's something that most people won't go out and dive into the dumpster. That's why they're watching. That's why it excites them, you know. Far as the laws, you know, every county, every city is different here. So you got to know your laws if it's okay to do that. For example, there's 2 towns right next to each other by me, excuse me, and one allows it and the other one doesn't, you know. So you just really have to know your area and so you don't want to get in trouble. Now, is it fun? It is fun. Is it crazy? It is crazy. Do you find shit? Very rarely. You know what I mean? It's like I probably will open 30 dumpsters before I find one single item in one of them, you know? And of course, you're not showing all the 30 dumpsters, because if you're gonna do that, nobody's gonna watch, right? So you always, you know, after if I'm shooting a video like that and I went through 100 dumpsters and maybe in 3 or 4 of them I found something, that's what you're seeing, you know?
Yeah. That's the beauty of editing, isn't it? Hang on, I'm gonna have to let my dog out again. Hold on. Go on.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah. But I was watching one the other day, and it fascinates me what actually gets thrown away. It's one that I'd actually watched before, where you ended up with a giant turtle. Do you remember that turtle you fished out? Why
Yeah,
did they get thrown away? This brand new stuff. It's
you
madness.
know, I honestly don't know. On the back of the turtle, when you look close, it does have a crack in it, but it's not like the unit split it or something. It does have a tiny crack in the back. I
Okay.
think it got dropped. The box was damaged, so they just tossed it away. What I don't understand, and I had this in one of my videos, like the pet supply stores. I don't know if you guys have it there in England, Petco.
We have
But it's
similar
a
stores, yeah, big
yeah,
stores.
it's a big chain, and these guys constantly throw away like food for animals, and a lot of it won't be even on recall, it won't be expired, and they just toss it out, and making room for new product coming in. Basically, if it still has 3-4 months expiration, boom, they toss it out and they put the new product out there. So I mean, a lot of times I don't make videos about it, but I stop all the time and I pick up stuff out of these dumpsters and I take it to my shelter place for the animals.
Yeah, I saw that one recently where you fished out bag after bag, great big bags of dog food, and then donated it. I thought that was a great video. Fascinating.
Yeah,
It's almost criminal to me that they waste that much.
yeah.
It frustrates me. Really does.
Big corporations, they don't care.
I was going to say, I think the reason people get hooked on dumpster diving videos is it's almost as if you're there on the hunt with the person. It's all about the expectation of finding something. It's like a
Yeah,
story, isn't it? I'm going to go hunting for junk or whatever. And then there's the bit in the middle, and then the payoff is what you find at the end. They're perfect little stories. And I think that's what appeals to
yeah,
people
for
in those
sure.
videos.
For sure. And I'm excited too. I mean, every time you open that lid of the dumpster, you never know. So it's just, and now, is it profitable to do this for a living? I don't think so.
No.
It's fun once in a while, but to make a living out of it, I don't think so.
Well, talking about fun, to loosely quote you, and I might get this slightly wrong, I think you said something like, if you don't have fun running your business, you're doing it wrong. So do you want to explain what you mean?
100%. It, it it's the truth, really. I mean, if you enjoy what you do, you're not really working, bottom line. And of course, we got to learn every single day. Nobody knows everything. You're constantly learning and evolving, but you have to have fun. You got to really enjoy it, because if you don't, you're going to get burned out really quickly, and within few months you're going to be out. And that's what happens to a lot of people in this, because they see us, they see the videos, they see the shows, and they think it's all just nice and easy. It's hard work. You and me both know it's hard work. You got to really hustle to find the right stuff. As soon as you get established and you know your routine and you get it going and you got enough knowledge, it becomes easier. But the beginning is super hard. But you got to love it. I mean, if you don't, if it's just about that dollar, you're not going to survive.
Yeah.
Simple.
You're absolutely right. And I think, of course, when we're making videos, we're going to share the successes, we're going to share the fun items, we're going to share the money makers, but you're not going to share the failures necessarily. You're not going to share the years and years of graft to get to where we got to. The failed businesses that, like you mentioned, my first couple of businesses didn't make me any money. I lost money. And only recently we set up another bricks and mortar store, and that didn't work out. So within 2 years we closed it. It has to be about the money, but what keeps me going and what keeps you going is the fact that you're passionate about it. And if you take that out of the equation, it falls apart, doesn't it?
Exactly. And I mean, you say we don't share the bad stuff. I mean, I try to here and there sometimes. Like last year, I closed down my second store, right? That I opened, it operated for 8 months. I had to shut it down. You had to understand when you got to pull the plug, when the things are not working, but you can't be scared trying out things. I mean, that's how business works. It's all risk. It's always going to be risk, but you got to be willing to take those risks, and you got to be willing to realize when the shit goes wrong and you got to pull the plug. That's a failure, right? But if I wouldn't, do I regret it? Absolutely not. I'll do it again too. Now I already have another idea somewhere else to do something. So it's just a constant thing. But
why does that not surprise me, Pete? Why does that not surprise me at all?
it's, yeah, and there's a couple other things that works that I'm working on as well in kind of tech world. Hopefully it will help a reselling community as well. So that's interesting that I've been working on that for the last 6 months. We'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
So there's always something new, but you got to have a passion for it. I mean, you got to have the drive. So
yeah, it's interesting what you said about your failures and you wouldn't change it anyway. I was on Steve Raken's channel the other night. He filmed an interview with me and he asked me what things I would change if I went back. And I thought about it, and I don't think I'd change anything, because the failures is what makes you. It's the fact that you get up and you start again and what you learn through failing. So yeah, it's interesting, but I totally agree with you. I'm just going to dip in the side chat, see if there's any questions, and then we'll take some questions from Facebook. There's so much chat. Sorry, guys. I know I've been ignoring the chat, but I'm just too engrossed in the conversation. It's hard to do both. Well, let me pop over. Let me open another window and we'll pull out some of these Facebook questions. Bear with me one sec.
I'm going to answer this quickly. Somebody's asking, will there be another reseller rally?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we are working at the moment on it. Hopefully it will happen beginning of next year. Don't have the details yet. Most likely it's going to be in Orlando, Florida. So as soon as we have the details, we'll definitely let people know.
Yeah. How did you find the last one? I mean, I've spoken to Chad and the others, and they said it was a great success. How did you find it?
It was great. It was awesome. I mean, that's the big part of business that a lot of people don't understand, that when you start networking with people and learning directly from people and you get those connections going, it's a huge part of this business. So that's why we mainly did the reseller rally, to have like-minded people show up there, exchange with little experience, ton of experience, veterans. I mean, it was just amazing. And the rally itself, us speaking and talking, it was peanuts to comparing to the stuff that happened before and after. That people actually mingling with each other, talking to each other, exchanging information, picking each other brains. That was the best part of it. So I think it was pretty successful. We had a ton of fun.
Yeah, I saw a few videos that were made during the event, during the evening, which were quite interesting. And we've been really inspired by that over here, and we're hoping to arrange a similar thing, probably on a smaller scale, in the UK. So I can't wait for that. Right, dipping into these Facebook questions. Christopher Sherratt says, well, he starts by saying Pete is awesome, so he's obviously a fan. He goes on to say Pete has a parrot and knows a lot of stuff. You have a parrot? I think I've seen it in a video, actually, under your desk at one point.
Yeah, she's been with us for a very long time. It's a green winged macaw. We have a parrot and we have a cat. So yes, they're lots of fun. They're pain in the butt, but lots of fun.
He goes on to ask about backup plans if you got banned from selling on eBay, which is quite topical because we've both had issues recently about eBay warning us about dealing outside of eBay and the potential for getting your account shut down at no notice. So have you ever thought about if eBay were to shut you out?
Yeah, it's always, in the back of your head what would happen, right? But there's other platforms. I mean, if I would have had no internet right now, meaning I could not sell online, period, I would still survive just from my brick and mortar.
Yeah,
I wouldn't make great money, but I would survive. So I think eBay does need some kind of big competition coming. That would be great. That would be great for business, I think. But is it going to happen? I don't know. Am I scared? Really think about it. I try to do as best as I can to follow all the procedures, to be on that platform, I think eBay is a great platform, even though that, you know, we always have some glitches and shit happens here and there. I mean, come on, the audience is huge, right? I mean, it's just the exposure, it's unbelievable. So
Yeah,
you know,
you can't beat that customer base. It's incredible, and the reach
yeah,
is phenomenal.
yeah, but I try not to worry about that. I go as day by day. If it ever happens, then I'm gonna worry about it and try to figure out. But you know, it's not gonna make me go under.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting that you say you try not to worry about that. I kind of say to myself on a daily basis, worry about the things I can have some direct control over. And if I worry about all the what ifs, I mean, I've been self-employed now for about 16 years. If I worried about all of the problems I had and focused on those, I'd be a nervous wreck. You have to act on the things you can actually make a difference about.
Exactly. I mean, that's all you can do. There's stuff that it's out of your control, and
let me just find some more questions. A lot of these we've kind of answered already. So, okay. Here's another one. I think it's actually the same guy, Christopher, who asked it. It talks about haggling. How did you learn to haggle, and how did you get into house clearances? So is haggling something that you've learned over the years, or did it come naturally to you?
I think kind of came naturally. I mean, I did learn a lot from, like I said, my grandpa, my uncle back in the day. But then I learned as I went from my own mistakes, you know, over the years, how to respond to people, what to say, what not to say. I think the biggest thing for me is the silence.
Yeah. Yeah.
I make people sweat. I just let them sit there a lot of times, you know, and, you know, 3 seconds go by, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and they go, oh my God, this guy doesn't want my shit anymore. He's not even responding to me, you know, and just, so you build that, like, you know, craziness, and then you show him the money, you know, and just,
Yeah.
it's just a learning curve, you know.
That is a great technique, and it comes up in some of your videos over the counter. You just sit back, and before you know it, they've dropped their own price.
Exactly. It's amazing, isn't it? And all of a sudden they go, they wanted $100, and all of a sudden, I'll take 50 after 10 seconds.
It's so true.
Oh, you take 50. Well, let me give you 30 then.
Yeah. I mean, when we had our shop, I would quite often just let them talk, and it would eventually sort of come out how desperate they were to get rid of it, that they didn't really have any real value in it, and they would explain to you how low you could go.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you need to learn how to listen, right? If you can figure out a person within the first 20, 30 seconds of your conversation, you got the advantage. If you know what they're all about within, you know, just few seconds, then the game is on your court.
Yeah.
And you can, after experience, after a while, you just know, you just feel people out, their behavior, the way they talk, how nervous they are as they are talking. I mean, these are all little things that we normally don't pay attention. But if you start paying attention, you know, how they speak, how they act, how they move their eyes, their facial expression, all that stuff plays a game. Now it comes kind of natural to me. I can like tell right away, but it's that's the best part of the business. It's the negotiation, the moment you're buying stuff. It's not the selling. I mean, it's nice and dandy that we show people, yeah, I got this and I sold this for this much, right? No, that moment when you were negotiating that item,
yeah,
because you make all your money on a buy. It's not on a sell. If you know what you're buying and you know your limits, that's when you make the money.
That's interesting you say that. I was going to ask, is that still the fun part for you? And it clearly is. It
is, for sure.
Excellent. Okay, let me scroll down and see what other people have asked you. We've kind of covered that. Caroline asks a question. We kind of touched on this, but we'll go for this anyway. If you were starting all over again, what would you do differently? It's a really difficult question because, like I said, if I didn't have the mistakes, I had the many mistakes along the way, I wouldn't have got here. So how would you answer that?
let's see. If for example, I'm starting completely over, I'm a new person and I want to get into this business, I would not have a brick and mortar store.
Oh, right.
Which is kind of strange, right? For me to say that, because I like it overall, but I think you get a lot more freedom not having a brick and mortar store, meaning like freedom, free time. This is the location. I have to be there every day, either me or my business partner, open the door, close the door, take care of the employees, you know.
Sorry,
And it,
got
no,
distracted.
it's good.
So, yeah.
So,
I was going to say, since we came out of bricks and mortar, so much less stress and so much less pressure and constraints on your time. I totally understand where you're coming from.
yeah, because remember,
sorry, would you struggle to get the stock? Because if a lot of your stock, I don't know what percentage comes in over the counter, you'd have to find other avenues to receive stock.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that is a one big deal, because probably about 75% of my stuff that I resell walks right through that door, right? I pick it up right over the counter, people bring it in. But it all depends how much money you feel comfortable with, how much money you need to make. I mean, are you looking for, you know, millions? Well, if you are, I'll tell you right now, it's not going to happen. Okay. But do I need 20 grand a year? Do I need 30, 50 grand a year? What's your number? Okay. And let's say if I can live comfortably on $50,000 salary, I can tell you right now, I can easily hustle that on a street with no brick and mortar. Mm-hmm. From knowledge that I have, stuff that I can pick up, I still maybe would have one employee working for me, even if I wouldn't have a brick and mortar. I tell you why. Because I actually hate listing.
Oh, right.
And I think 85% of people that do this business, they love going out there and getting shit, but they hate listing the stuff, right?
Of course.
So, so I would still have the employee. I would make sure my numbers work good enough that I can afford one employee who can do, you know, most of the listing for me.
So currently, there's the lady that I see in your videos whose name I forget. She does most of your listing now, or how many employees do you have actually, all told?
I have 3 full-time employees and 1 part-time.
Right.
So I have 2 people behind the counter. I have Vicky, that she's my full-time lister for eBay, and I have Nick, who's a part-time eBay lister. So she works full-time, 40 hours a week, and Nick comes in for another 15, 20 hours, depending how much stuff, how much inventory we have.
Right. How did you, I'm fascinated, the level of trust in those people you must have to do the listing for you, the describing of the items, the photography. Did you find that difficult to let go of that procedure and trust those people to do it right? Or how much control do you have over that, or input?
For sure. I mean, that's it's huge. Finding the right people to work for you, not only as a lister for eBay, but like in a shop. You know, I deal with so much cash transaction, cash deals all day long, that trust is like number one thing. And we went through quite a few people over the years in a shop. But Vicky, when I found Vicky, which was about almost 3 years now, I think Vicky's been with us. I tell you, I fell in love with her because she's been in that kind of business for many years. She's been listing on eBay. She understood what it takes to have a decent eBay listing and description and the whole procedure. So it was like, yeah, match made in heaven, and she's been ever since with us. And I think it's a lots of fun for both parties, because she enjoys it, we enjoy her a lot, and anybody that I bring into now, even like Nick is working part-time listing, guy had no clue about eBay. All I had to do is put him in my eBay room with Vicky. She walked him through everything. I got exact clone.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
A good employee is just worth their weight in gold. And we I think employees is what with the nail in the coffin for us and bricks and mortar when we had our gaming store, which was our huge success in business that set us up. But we had certain staff members that were ripping us off, stealing from us. And once that trust goes, I found it so hard to trust anybody else outside of my immediate family, because myself and my wife ran the business. But yeah, if you can find an employee that you trust and can do their job well, you've nailed it.
Yeah, and it's hard. It is hard finding the right people. Like I said, I went through a lot of people, especially behind the counter people, just like you said, the trust is number one thing, and it happens once, it's going to happen again.
Yep.
So.
Okay, let's see. How are we doing for time? We've been going 50 minutes. We normally make these about an hour. How are you fixed for time, Pete?
Whatever, man. If people are watching, let's talk.
We've got 172 currently watching, which is quite impressive. So if you've just joined us, this is Pete, Craigslist Hunter, and we're just talking about TAT, really, and what we do. I'm just trying to read some more questions off Facebook. Gary Dunster asks, at what point did you realize you wanted to move into a shop? And was there a moment when you decided, when you had that epiphany of yes, that's what I want? Was eBay before the shop actually? You set up a business on eBay first? Is that the order?
Yes. Yes, like I said, the eBay was been happening since like early 2000s, so off and on. But the previous company that I ran for 10 years, that we sold the company a couple of years ago now, which was called Junk Platoon USA. We had a big shop for that company with a big warehouse, and stuff that I would clear out of people's homes, we would sell on weekends out of the shop, till finally city shut us down because we created too much traffic on a major road, because people would park, on the side of the road, hundreds of cars, and we would have just a sale going Saturday, Sunday. And that's what kind of made a decision, let's open the shop, because this is working. We selling stuff out of this warehouse. Why don't we start selling out of this shop? And then at the same time, we can buy stuff that walks in off the street. So it was a win-win situation.
Okay, cool. I did just have one. I've lost it. There's an interesting question actually from Shauna here. What do you think you would be doing if you still lived in Poland? If you didn't move all those years ago, what do you think your life would have been in Poland? Or would you been hustling in Poland?
I have no idea. It's so, you can't answer a question like that.
No.
I wouldn't met my wife, right? I wouldn't have my lovely family. I wouldn't have, it's just, it is what it is.
Well, actually, somebody else kind of carried on from that, which might be an easier angle on the question. Anne said, do you think you could have been as successful reselling in Poland? Do you think you can be successful at reselling no matter where you are in the world?
I got that hustle in me, so I think I could be successful pretty much anywhere as far as flipping goes and stuff. But I think I would have been even more successful when it comes to flipping in Poland. And I tell you why. Because what happened in 80s, right, when the communist bloc dropped and the market opened up, I do still have some friends who I stay in touch, and they were in a market, not maybe flipping used stuff, but the market opened up from the West to Poland when, right, the communist bloc fall apart and things are started changing. Opportunity was huge to bring new product, new merchandise into that market.
Yeah. And
some of these guys made absolute killing in 90s and early 2000s. Killing to the point they made millions. So that's how big it was.
Were they importing from America and UK and?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right now, obviously, it's totally different. It's totally different ball game. I can't even. you know, I was just in Europe a couple years ago, but like 5 years ago, I was in Poland. I can't believe how expensive it is now. It's just crazy. You know, back in the day, if people don't know, when Poland was still under Russian regime as a communist country, you could go from US, take $300 in your pocket, go for a month to Poland, and come back still with $100. You know what? I mean, that's how it was. It was just insane. It was crazy. And now it's like, I don't know if $300 is gonna last you a day. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
So
a lot of Polish people have moved to the UK and to France and Germany. That they seem to be all migrating across. I don't know what the reasoning behind that is. I think it's going where the money is, but I'm not sure. But we've noticed it in the UK, certainly. A lot of Polish people come.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, you know, the market open up, you know, the European Union, you know, thing happen and markets open, and it just, you know, people are obviously traveling where the money is, you know.
Another question from Facebook. This is Steve Stockham. He says, does Pete have a strategy for dealing with stock that doesn't appear to be selling, such as cutting the price, shifting platforms, or dumping stock? Do you have a system in place for making sure that you have turnover?
Yes. So this is how it usually works. When something comes into my shop, unless it's doubles or multiples of something that I have a lot, then we'll sell both on, for example, online and in a shop. But first, when the item comes in, it stays in a shop for 3 months. If it doesn't move, then we move it to eBay. And usually eBay, if it doesn't sell after 6 months, the price gets slashed, move it out, get my money back, and put it in something else. If it's such a bad product that we made such a bad boo-boo that I can't even move it for peanuts, then we just donate it, get rid of it, make room for new inventory, you know?
Yep. Everything has to keep moving, doesn't it? Otherwise you have a backup, and if you extrapolate that over time, you're just going to be swimming in crap you can't move.
Exactly. I see a super chat again from Krillin. Good guy, Krillin 876. Thanks, Krillin. Appreciate it.
I'm missing these. Let me try and find it. I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Yeah. He says a friend made $1 million with pantyhose in Romania in the 90s. There you go. That's what you're talking about, importing.
Somebody's asking if there are any Polish people left in Poland. Yeah, they are actually. You'd be surprised. I'm gonna tell you. You know, Chicagoland area was extremely popular place to come from Poland in 70s and 80s. At one point, they were saying there was over 1 million Polacks here in Chicago, which was crazy, like in early 80s. And then things change. Everybody left. I don't know if there's even like 100,000 Polish people here in Chicagoland area. Like people just left, you know, made enough money. When things change in Poland, communists went down, went back and started businesses there, you know? So
yeah. Interesting. I was just reading another question. Where's it gone? Graham Nichols asks in the side chat, does Pete have to suffer scammers in store and online? Do you get people trying to rip you off in the store? I suppose it's different.
You know, occasionally it does happen that somebody will buy something and 3 days later they show up and doesn't work. Can you give me my money back? I'm like, dude, you just bought this chainsaw from me so you can cut 2 trees and you brought it back. It still runs fine. You know, I mean, you get one of those, but it's part of the business. I don't stress about it. Here's your money. Yeah. Come back next time, buy something else, you know. You see, here's the biggest thing. The customer service when you're running brick and mortar shop, it's huge, okay? It's I think 10 times bigger than it is online. Because everybody online is behind a keyboard, right? Everybody is a warrior, you know, they can say nasty stuff. It's a different interaction when it's face to face. and reputation is everything for my local game. So I will 99% of the time I will bend over backwards for the customer to make sure they're happy, because the return business and what they're gonna tell to their friends, it's more important to me than anything else. So yeah, but here and there you get some scammers. You know, just to give you like a general idea, when we first started our store, not this location, I had a little tiny shop before that, but that store was open for the first, I want to say maybe a little bit over than a year. We did not make a penny on any item that came into the shop. We did not make any money. Not that we put the money right back into the business, which we did, but the idea was to gain the trust of people and to build relationships, and the word would spread on a street that these guys are straight, that they're paying the top dollar. That's what we wanted to get this business going. I mean, I would buy stuff and pay prices that nobody could compete on me. But that went such a long way, and we were in a position that we were able to do that, not to take money out of the store. You know, we were prepared. I had other businesses going, so this is not like, you know, do and die situation. If I don't make a buck today, I'm going to close the doors down. This is the way we did it for a year, and it made all the difference why the shop exists today. You know, we gained that trust. We treated people right. And a lot of people don't realize that if you go into business like that, you need to be prepared that you're not going to make any freaking money. That's with any business. For first year, 2, 3, sometimes you're not making a penny. And if you are, it's peanuts, money barely that you will survive on, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even our big successful business, we had the gaming shop. For the first at least a year, we were barely taking a salary.
Yeah.
That was more because we were putting the money back in, because we had to build up the stock. We had to plow the money back in, but it was hard. We didn't take holidays for 2 or 3 years. You know, it was tough, but the payoff came further down the line. But even that wasn't guaranteed. I mean, it's a huge risk, any business, particularly, I would say, bricks and mortar, the overheads you can get involved with.
But let me ask you this, because I don't know your story. Why did you close your store?
We had been doing it, getting on for 10 years. We had achieved what we wanted to, which was to buy our house and pay off the mortgage. And we hadn't really taken our foot off the pedal for that time. And we were burnt out. And I had real issues with staff thieving from us. We were broken into, and the store was smashed up. And then I tried to sell the business at the exact moment the financial crash happened. And although we had an offer on the business, the chap who we had accepted the offer from suddenly couldn't borrow money because banks weren't lending to small businesses. But we had handed in our notice on the lease. So it was kind of a perfect storm. And we just went, you know what, we're just going to close the doors. And I went to online only and sold off the stock from the shop for the next year or so. And that was it. We pulled out of bricks and mortar. But it had achieved what we wanted, what we set out to do, which was to buy our house and set ourselves up.
Yeah, for sure. See, so now you understand exactly when I said it, what I would do differently if I would start over. Because the freedom that you get right now, what you do, it's not even close when you're running a shop. You're running that shop, you are there all the time, you're making sure things happen. So, no, yeah. I get it.
But and we knew that, but even as recently as last year, we set up a clothing outlet for my wife and we got back into bricks and mortar, and it didn't work out, but we were only in for a year and a half, as I said to you earlier. But we actually went back and then suddenly realized how much time and how much stress and pressure there was on us again. Yeah. Never again. That's it. We're done. We're done with that now.
I said that too. I don't know. No, I got something that works. I think something's gonna happen, but you know, never say never. You know, I mean, that's what happens when you are entrepreneur. You know, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
It's in your blood,
I keep
it's in
saying
your
to people,
blood.
I've got ideas. I can't stop having ideas that I'm continually working on. Whether they come to anything, I don't know, but I can't switch my mind off. There was another question I was going to take from Facebook, and then we'll dip into the side chat, and then soon we'll wrap this one up. Let's oh God, this keeps moving around. Come on, where are we? I'm sure I found the question. Here we go. This is from Alex. He said, what was your best ever flip? Or if you can't remember, tell us about a memorable recent sale you had.
Man, there's been so much stuff, but like exciting stuff. A few years back, I sold a very, very cool Paul Gibson guitar from like 1962 that went for like 5 or 6 grand, like $5,800, I think.
Wow. How much were you in that for?
A couple grand.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's, there's certain things that are very cool, but for very cool stuff, a lot of times you got to pay up, especially when the stuff shows up at my shop, so.
I'm interested, for example, that guitar, let's say that turned up at your counter with an item like that you're potentially going to invest a lot of money in. Will you say to the guy, leave it with me for a day and I'll do my research? Or do you have to do it at that moment? How do you operate on something that is a big investment?
Yeah, usually I try to make the deals right there and then. Because remember, that's part of that whole negotiation. When customer sees the potential seller sees that cash, they're willing to sell you. When they have time to sleep on it and you actually tell them more information about it, sometimes deals fell apart. So for example, with the guitar, I actually had a guy working for me who was extremely knowledgeable in that particular department, musical instruments. And he knew right off the get-go what came in, what was it, how much is worth, and how much we can potentially get out of it. So that wasn't an issue at all, spending the money. Now, a lot of times what happens too with things like that we will make an offer, we don't make a deal, but we always tell people that the offer stands. If they want to think about it, if they want to go shop around, and they can always come back. And a lot of times they come back. Yep. Because on pricier items, there's not many guys out there who will dish out, 2, 3, 5 grand. So that's a big advantage. Like yesterday, Adrian had a big deal. I wasn't already in the shop. This was right before the close. Guy shows up with bunch of gold coins, and we end up spending like $6,500, within the last minutes of the store. Not many places that you can walk in at 7 p.m. and gonna give you cash on the spot,
Yeah.
So you always got to be prepared for that, for those kind of deals.
Yeah, and a lot of time, of course, these people are there because for whatever reason in their life they need money, and you may be the only place they can go to at that moment in time that's going to offer them that. I mean, I have many conversations when people have come into my shop and have a games collection or whatever, and I'd make them my offer, and they'd be like, "Are you serious? I want X amount for it." And I said, "Look, that's what I can offer you. If you want to get more, how about sell it on eBay? You do really well on eBay." 9 times out of 10, they would take the money anyway. They'd have it. They might resent how much I'd offered them, but I'd be very straight up and said, "That's what I can offer you. I've got to make money here."
Exactly, and that's what I tell people right away. Yeah, that's what I tell people right away. Listen, I'm running a business. I will make money on this. This is what I do, Yeah. And you have to understand that I got bills to pay, I got employees, I got rent, I got this and that. It's just, this is the business I'm in, and I'm gonna make. And most, I would say, 80% of the people that come in, they totally understand that. Another 10%, you have to explain, and then they go, "I get it." and another 10% always gonna think that you're gonna try to rip him off.
Yeah. Well, we had the situation where we were like a gaming shop, so we'd also have all the brand new chart games and the new Nintendo consoles and stuff, and we'd get people that just wouldn't understand. They'd come in, they'd buy a brand new game one week and spend like £40 on it. They'd play it for a couple of weeks, bring it back, and I'd offer them £20 store credit or £10 cash, and they'd be like, I bought it for 40, it's worth 40. I'm like, that was 2 weeks ago, and then it was brand new sealed. And they couldn't get their head around the fact that it was 42 weeks ago, and now I'm offering them 10.
Right.
You know, and you just couldn't explain to some people how that worked.
Yeah, like I say, there's always that percentage that thinks, hey, I paid 40, it's worth 40. And it's,
yeah,
what are you going to, you know?
Exactly. I saw earlier, I think Graham said that, am I sure that Pete isn't the Polish guy who bought my Hardhead Atari game? Because did you hear about that game I sold?
Yes, I did.
Went for 5,000 odd. That went to a chap in Poland. So there's people with money in Poland for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. But that was a great find, man. That was, you know.
I came so close to letting that go for way less than its value, though. I just got lucky that somebody tipped me off, because I had no clue what it was. Nobody really did.
And it happened to me a couple times too. And as much as we've been buying and selling, and like I said, Vicky is very experienced. People tipped us off too. Send us an email. Listen, you're selling something that it's worth 10 times. And we're like, really? And then you're gonna start doing a research, and then you go, holy shit, really? You know? So
well, that's the thing. I mean, there's no way you can know everything. You're never going to.
No way.
And it's impossible. And like you said, we do our due diligence, we do what research we can, but we're all going to make mistakes. I've probably sold many things under what they're actually worth, but what can you do?
Yeah,
you can't win them all. We try.
We try, but you can't win them all, for sure. Yeah. And then of course you're going to have also those that you think, I'm going to make a killing on it, and then you can't get rid of it for half a year, and then you sold it for less that you bought it, you know. I mean, it's, you know, obviously it happens less and less and less because you get the experience, but it still happens, you know.
Yeah, you have to shift it, move on, and find some stuff that will make you money. If you stress about those issues, the things you don't make money on, your focus is all wrong. Focus on the stuff that's going well. That's what I say.
Sure. For sure.
Okay, well, I hope we've covered a lot of the questions we had. I've touched on a few that we had in Facebook. Thanks ever so much for those. Thanks for watching us. We're still at 173 viewers that have stuck with us for nearly an hour and a quarter. So thanks for that. And thanks for your questions in the chat. I hope we answered some of your questions. And thanks, Pete, for joining me. I was so happy to get you on finally.
No, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. It's always fun, you know. So
yeah. Like I say, the link to Pete's channel is below. If any of you guys watching this, either now or in the future, go and check out Pete's channel. There's some fascinating videos over there. Dumpster diving, amongst many, many other things. Like I say, my favorites are where you show you making the deal in the shop. I find that fascinating. Just seeing what comes in through the door is entertaining.
And that's my favorite too, the negotiation part. You know, I'm not very proud of my dumpster diving videos. You know, even though they are more popular, it's just, you know.
I tell you, my favorite video I watched of yours, and I rewatched it again recently, was, I don't know how you came by the deal, but the chat was, I think, moving to Florida, you said. And you went and you struck up a deal somehow. It felt like you were clearing his house. You filled up a couple of van loads with just the most amazing stuff. Before we finish, how did that deal come about? And how well did you do out of that? Because that was amazing.
Actually, that deal was one of the first deals that YouTube channel generated for me.
Ah.
Because a guy who watched me on regular basis happened to know the guy who was selling stuff, and he told him, listen, there's this guy not too far from us. He has a shop. I'm pretty sure he would be interested in your stuff. So he told his friend about me, and this guy came to my shop. We talked about it. We set up appointment. I went out to his house, looked at everything. When he was ready to move out, I came in there with a couple of my trucks and a couple of my employees, and we loaded everything, and I got a lot of stuff out of there. Now, I still have quite a bit of this stuff in my shop. Believe it or not. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, and some things, because I bought it one big bundle, you know, a bulk. I mean, I'm cleaning out everything that he has there, so I knew there was some things that I'm either gonna sit on it forever, that they're gonna be long tail, but it was a part of the deal, right? I gotta take most of it to get that deal because he was ready to move out. So sometimes you take a little bit of risk. How did I did overall on it? Very good. I mean, the stuff that it's sitting now, it's not costing me anything except that it's taking some space.
Yeah.
But I already made my money on everything else. So I love deals like that the best, because it's a one trip, one deal, and you get a ton of crap, you know? So
yeah, for sure. I was talking about this on another live chat the other day. When you get the big hauls, it's so much more efficient, especially if it's stuff. I've had some recently where you have multiples of lines of items, brand new stuff. It's so much easier for me to deal with.
Yeah, you just got to understand your market too, because right now I believe the antique stuff, it's a dead market at the moment. There's so much of that stuff out there that it's a little bit hard to move. So be prepared if you dealing with stuff like this to be sitting on it for a while, and that your money is a little bit tied up, you know. The market constantly changes. You got to be on top of it. You got to know what you're getting into, because a couple deals like that can put you out of business sometimes, you know, if you if you invest a lot of money. So
yep, that's the thing. Everything changes, and if you're not prepared to evolve, you're going to get left behind. Well, on that note, I think we could talk all night. This is the problem, but we're going to have to wrap this up sooner or later. So thanks again, Pete. Really enjoyed that. Perhaps we'll do it again sometime.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Nick. See you guys.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.